Welcome to C2 Connect 2025, one of my favorite days of the year. We got a packed agenda that I will quickly go through. Oh, you've done it, sorry. Yeah. So rather rudely and selfishly, we're going to start with ourselves. I'm going to tell a little bit about, where we come from, why we built C2, what it does, and most excitingly, I hope, what we spent the last 12 months building and the direction we're taking. So in the agenda, we're going on until 6, where we have a networking reception where we get to celebrate all your automation wins, connect more, network. And then in between, we've got, we look into the customer stories, what you're seeing, what you're living in the automation world, what's keeping you up at night, where do you think automation is going, what's the role of orchestration, and so on. There'll be panels, there'll be use cases, and there'll be room for questions. And in between, there'll be 2 half-hour breaks for stretching your legs. And hopefully you can go to the demo booths and you can visit our sponsors. They've got lots to help with in their view. So Roboyo and UST will also be here to help you with what they're seeing from their point of view. So I hope you take that opportunity not just to chit-chat, but also to get answers to the questions you have, either about what we're doing, what we're launching, or what others are saying. So the team has allowed me to not have a script, but we have made slides, so we'll see if I can stick to it in any sort of sensible way. So why did we build C2? So, I was actually the first one to do RPA in Norway, not in the world. And that ability to go in and, find sort of inefficiencies or broken processes and then automate and improve them in a matter of weeks and getting them into production was just, an awesome feeling. And I became an automationist overnight. So as soon as, I set up the first center of excellence, moved in, started a consulting business, and my co-founders joined there, and we very soon, scaled up our automation estates for our customers, and again, you get to spend all your time automating, making the change, but the more we automated, and the more successful we were, the more time we had to spend fixing, monitoring, operating these automations. And to be clear, that is why we're automating, to have things working in production, getting the work done. A broken automation is just not an automation. And so that was the paradox we were sort of caught in, that the successes we had stopped us from bringing those successes forwards. So we reached out actually to the RPA vendors and said, you need to fix this because there's so much more we can automate. If we can know if the system is resilient, if it'll work all the time, and it'll get the job done at the right time. They decided not to go down that path. And when we see the results on license savings, I see why they didn't do it. But we were frustrated at the time. So we were wondering, what can we do for our customers? How do we get to a place where we can help them automate more and not spend time watching robots work? But it was only when we realized that this wasn't an RPA problem and that RPA is just the start of the automation journey. This is an automation issue. We need an automation operating system that's as good as the building of automation system. And so that's what we set out to do. And the results we saw when we put our first version of what was then called RPA Supervisor into production was really surprising, even to us. How that dynamic orchestration created extra capacity, saved in operations. We had smaller customers, But that went, 6 weeks over summer, and RPA supervisor took care of all operations, no human involvement at all. And we realized, this wasn't just a Norwegian problem, it was a global problem. So we took it further. So it's that management and orchestration infrastructure that we set out to build. And we built it from the start in the mindset of, this is for automations, it's not just for RPA. So that's how we got started, but I think we're all on an automation journey. I think most of us have started with RPA. I think many of us will be considered veterans in the automation industry. I think we're pioneers. I think we've just seen the start of it. And the longer you go, or the further you get on this journey, you're adding more automations, you get a lot more value, but you add complexity. You add new technologies, you get even more value, and the complexity just multiplies. And with AI maturing, automating stuff is going to get a lot easier. So we're going to get a lot more automations. But the challenge of managing them still remains, and it's just going to get harder. So that's why we built C2. So when we started, no one was really talking about orchestrating. Everyone was talking about automating. So over the last, 12, 18 months, there's been a lot more talk of orchestration by analysts on LinkedIn. And sort of frustrating to us, lots of vendors are orchestrating. The RPA vendors say they're orchestrating. The agents of platforms say they're orchestrating. Most of it, if I could be so bold, is they're scheduling, they're queuing stuff, they're integrating. It's not really orchestration, certainly not the way we see to orchestration. So to explain it, I often talk about the London Underground, the tube, as talking to sort of systems. It's a system. It's a massive, it's a massive improvement on not having an underground. The way it frees up transport we can do overground is massive. So the efficiency of the London Underground is great, and it's taken a lot of planning, engineering, and operational effort to make it work. And it does get us from station A to station B most of the time. But it's got limitations. It's scheduled. So each train is scheduled. Each line is a separate sort of silo. Yes, you've got the train, the lines, the operations, and it's all reactive. So we get there, but it's costly. So if you think of how it would work with C2 orchestration, so the way it works is you get there, but if something happens, right? So you've got a signal failure, or a train stops for some reason, or there's a line break, or there's a strike, or anything like that, then all of a sudden you're not getting from A to B, and you don't really know how to get there. So, it really is an improvement on not having it, but it's not perfect. Now, so imagine if you could orchestrate the underground. You would then, as you get to the station, this operating system would know when and where you need to go. And it would instantly change capacity. It would sort of scale up or reduce the size of the cars. It would add more trains. If something breaks, it would get you, it will guide you around the signal failures and so on. And it would get you there. But this operating system makes sure you always get to where you want to go when you need to be there by. And if for some reason you don't, because all the lines are broken, whatever it is, then you will be told what you need to do, and your boss or your date will also be told that you will be late and what they can expect. And if you think of, how enterprise automations work today, they mostly run like the underground is ran. Static schedules, limited resources, manual operations. You need to monitor it. You need to report on it, and you need to get, when you see something, you need to react and maybe reschedule stuff and so on. And it's very hard to manage peaks, peak hours, and so on in an efficient way. So what we've done is, and what's different to I'd say all others, is we do item level prioritization based on the SLA of each individual item of work. And we do resource load balancing so that you scale up to make sure you have enough capacity. And if something breaks, it's automatically fixed. And that's what real orchestration is. And that's what makes a difference. And I think most of you, certainly all our customers in here, can attest to the fact that how it reduces your infrastructure cost, how it reduces your manual effort, and how it increases throughput of the work. And I think right now, more than that, the resilience, making sure it always works. So I think that's what we deliver today, and that's how we, why you're here and why you're interested, or certainly has been. But now we're getting into, the agentic era, and orchestration or automation is sort of multi-tech. So in the same way that you didn't get here today. Your journey didn't start in tube station A and get to Charing Cross or whichever it was. Right? It involved a bit of walking, maybe a bus, a taxi. For me, it was even a plane. Right? And that's the same with multi-technology orchestration. It's not just a tube. You need to get all of these systems working together. And that's why we've now taken that orchestration capability and made it a universal agentic orchestration capability. So it's universal and agentic. So it takes all of the stuff that we do from RPA, for all of your technologies. So you can now do end-to-end orchestration. So that takes us from a sort of a single technology efficiency tool or management solution into what we've called Agentic Management Platform. And agentic doesn't mean we only do agentic. It means we manage the agentic era and any technology from RPA, well, humans, RPA, and up to the agentic. And contrary to what we read 12 months ago, agentic will not replace everything, and certainly not in the next year or 2 or 5. Right? Most work is actually doesn't need cognitive capabilities. Most is descriptive. There are set rules, you go through it step by step. What agentic will do is it'll allow us to automate a lot more because you can get that cognitive input where it's needed so you can automate the rest. It's going to be a very exciting journey. So we've kept orchestration at the core of the platform still, but it now means you can do multi-technology, agentic, and end-to-end processing. Now, when you get into this space, it also means you're touching much more of the enterprise processes, enterprise infrastructure, and especially with agentic, compliance, security, governance is even more important than it has been. So we've also strengthened our governance capability and our intelligence capability. So the governance will make sure that you can, all of your technologies, all of your agents, all of your bots, all of your credentials are secure, auditable, and you get insight and you can know where they are, what they're doing. So it keeps your estate safe and controlled and governed. On the intelligence bit, there is so much more to do, and the fact that we are combining, the operational, sort of live operational data on an item of work level, all through your automation stack and your processes, end-to-end processing, means we can, deliver real, not just real business intelligence for you to, drive improvements on your processes and your business outcomes and so on, but also to drive optimizations and improvements in your automations themselves. And you can be sort of ahead of the game of what's coming, so you can fix it before it breaks. So this is what we've spent the last 12 months. So we started the foundations when we started building C2. We always knew that we were going to be an automation management platform, and not just RPA. I didn't know at the time it would be Agentic Management Platform, but with the onset of Agentic era, that's the important bit. Sorry. I know this is just a drawing. So after this, Paul and Homan will come up and bring this to life. Paul will go through in more detail what this means, how you can use it, and detail what it means from our capabilities perspective. And then Homan will actually show it to you live so you can see what it looks like. We've added one thing that I found it hard that we couldn't do before into the intelligence product line. And to tell you what that is, I want to revisit the tube. So the orchestration is, as I said, that's always been there. We've now expanded it, but but you can't see anything. It's like the underground. You get there, and when you're overground, you don't know what's going on the tube, who's going where, which lines are working, and so on. And when you're down there, you see very small part of it. You see the station or the train you're in. You don't really get a feel for how the work is flowing, or certainly not where the passages are going. And it's the same with our automation operations. Right? You've got sort of siloed organizations, different technologies, who's managing what, if something breaks, who do I call, how do I fix it, and so on. So what we've done is we've created a digital twin, which will take, it will take every process, every interaction, every outcome, make it into a real-time, streamlined, dynamic view of what's actually going on with all of your automations. So you can follow, every technology, every single item, every process. You can see the value which is created at every single step. If it is, so the value, the SLAs, the number of items processed, any issues, any trends that's coming, all of that is in here. Now, this is clearly not how it's going to look, but Homer's going to show that later. And so now we're able to see what's actually going on with all of our automations. I might paint a nice picture, but to me, it's like seeing how the organization is working and thinking in real time. So this is, I think this is going to make it a lot easier for you to explain to the rest of the organization what's going on, what's needed, and how you can move into the agentic era. You can show them, live, that you have control of the agents working within your processes. So with that, you get, an automation operating system that isn't just, keeping everything, keeping your automations moving. It's keeping all the work. It's keeping everything moving and in the right direction. So I hope this gets you thinking of what you can do and how you can expand on your automations today and how you can build on, if you've got C2, your experiences and drive the same control and efficiency that you have today into all of these other technologies and offer end-to-end orchestration. And if you're not using C2 now, this is yet another reason to become a CT customer. So with that, I think I'm going to ask Paul to join and be more concrete about it all.
Thank you, Eric. Let me do a mic check first, because I've got a second mic on me now. All good? So thank you, everyone. My name's Paul Donaldson. I'm the COO here at C2. Let me just check this works. Excellent. So I want to start today with 3 very simple words that you can read. Mind the gap. Right? Why I'm using those 3 words, I think that brings into context of everything we've been doing as an organisation. So continuing on the London Underground theme, when we look at London Underground, mind the gap is kind of a warning between the platform and the tube, the train, right? So very, very simple. But for us in our world, right, it's the gap between all of those automation technologies, the governance, the control, the visualization, when you look at a process far beyond one individual technology. So if I take mind the gap into our world, right, those 3 key themes that you heard Eric refer to. Firstly, orchestration, the gap between the technologies, right? How do you use, particularly in the world of agentic, how do you move from technology to technology, right? It could be Blue Prism, Automation Anywhere, it could be an agent, it could be an API, right? How do you bridge those gaps? It could be a human, right? Human in the loop. From a governance perspective, and we see far more of this now, how do you govern this next wave of automations that are coming through, regardless of what it is? How do you control, right? We're talking about autonomous agents here, right? How do you control that? How do you govern it, right? And the bit that I think is coming onto everyone's radar finally is intelligence. How do you proactively understand what your end-to-end processes are doing, what your agents are doing, right? Are they visible to you? Are they providing even value, right? Is it just costs and no return? So when I talk about minding the gap, it's the gap between the orchestration layer, between the technologies. It's the gap at the governance level, and particularly from a security, how do you control it? And finally, that proactive intelligence. How do you really know what's happening end to end? We are far beyond the world here of a single RPA or automation tool. Everyone in this room has gone way beyond that. Practically everyone's trying to figure out where agentic AI sits in that ecosystem. Everyone's got low code as well. So how do you kind of control that, right? So we are delighted, as Eric announced, to launch the Agentic Management Platform today. This has been a long journey for us, right? We see key elements of this, and I'm going to delve into those individual points. So, but just to bring this to life, we see 3 pillars, right, which I've already referred to. So firstly, an orchestration layer. The controlling element of being able to orchestrate your processes regardless of the technology, end to end. And I mean end to end, right? How do you put a governance layer, and we have put a governance layer, that regardless of the technology, you know exactly what's happening. You've got the security. It sits at a foundational level rather than each one of those technologies. And finally, from an intelligence perspective, we want to give you every log, every insight. We want that to be as proactive as possible for you so you truly see the end-to-end state, not what's going on at an individual automation technology level. So that's the kind of foundational part of our platform. And as you see at the bottom, the operating system that orchestrates all work, regardless if it's bots, if it's human work, if it's APA, if it's AI agents, any kind of code that's sitting in there, we see ourselves as being that foundational level. You see at the top here some of the technologies that we work with. I think practically everyone in the room, certainly those of you that I know, have at least one RPA type deployment, but you've gone far beyond that. Most people have got some kind of plethora of agentic work happening. There is a lot of large language models in there. There's process mining sitting out, you name it. Everyone's feeling that pain point. So I'm going to spend the next little while going into those 3 individual capabilities, right? So I'm going to delve into what we mean by that. So just to reiterate on orchestration, end-to-end orchestration, regardless of the technology. And if you look at many of you we've been working with for many years, right? That started as a single RPA deployment, right? Our heritage was very much in that Blue Prism world. Then over the last few years, we've branched into Microsoft, Automation Anywhere, UiPath, a lot of low-code type tools, right? So we've been doing this journey, and really this has been the kind of more the foundation of where we are as an organization. And I would put a guess that most people associate us with orchestration, right? That's where we've come from. So first piece for us, I'm going to go into some of those elements. I'll try and keep it as high level as I can to not bore everyone too much. But for the first piece, multi-tech. So this is already live today, working with pretty much every technology that you want to work with, and we'll keep building on that. There is no agentic technology appearing by the day, but we can interact with all of those technologies today, right? Next bit, which I guess is the most important, is how in your world, when you've got these end-to-end processes, how do you stitch them together, right? That end-to-end view. When you see the digital twin, and Homan's moved, thank you, he'll bring it to life to you. You'll be able to show you that view of what your processes are doing. Next piece is on a dynamic prioritization perspective. Because we are SLA-based as an organization, it's a big part of what's got us here now. That item-based SLA approach, i.e. the work gets done in the most efficient, proactive way it needs to get done, not just because you've got a license sitting there and you need to use it. It's on a schedule. That's why most of you have come to us as an organization, because of that kind of traditional inefficiency. So we work very much at that item level. I know there's some people who would love to talk to you on this theme, and customers who have spent a lot of time really building their processes down into those small item level component parts. They are the ones that have truly extrapolated the value out of our technology and out of their automation program. A few other bits to be aware of, things like resource base. You don't care what resources do in what way. You need to worry about getting the job done and not having an army of people sitting in a room somewhere and worrying about how to control your estate. It's amazing to how many organizations we speak to, and they say they built these technologies, they've spent a ton of time, and then they've got an army of people as like controllers, managers of your workforce, right? We don't believe in that at all. We believe the system should be doing that for you. We have human in the loop integration as well. Every process, whether it's an approval, whether it's some form of security check, you should be able to bring in a human, right? Where it's required, where humans add value. And look, some of the elements that most of you would again know us by is that automatic fallover. We certainly don't see a world where if a bot fails, if a process fails, you have to step in and do something about it. You want your technology to do it. So that's how we see orchestration. I do want to pick up on a couple of case studies here. So let's take E.ON. So E.ON have been working with us many years. Hopefully everyone understands E.ON and knows who they are. The foundations of E.ON as a company, right? It just took them, I'm just reminding myself of my notes. So after implementation, they got a 50% utilization increase. We hear that time and time again. Every organization, like there's a ton of customers in this room, you've all got a similar story to that. Just off the bat, just SLA-based scheduling, 50% odd efficiency gains. I know one that's about 80%, right? They're actually in this room. So just by turning on an SLA-based scheduler, right? License reduction straight away, efficiency. But most importantly for them, what it gave them, it wasn't about the value save, it was the ability to understand their processes far more, put a spotlight on what is happening. And E.ON now, their journey is around multi-tech. So they're doing far more now. They're bringing Microsoft into the stack. They're traditionally Blue Prism. They're doing a ton of agentic work as well. You all, from my dealings with you, right, that's the constant question you come to us with. How do you kind of work across multi-tech? How do you stitch those things together? Another organization that takes no introduction, we all know Nestle, right? Like, well-known company. Blue Prism estate historically, but actually what's unique about them, they actually have they actually have three, but predominantly two automation stacks, right? They have a large Blue Prism deployment, they have a large Automation Anywhere deployment. So with this company, they started in one of those two areas, they saw the gains, they're now going into the second organization. And again, a similar perspective. It's only about a year into our journey with SLA, they're already seeing gains of like 40% efficiency. And to be honest, that's not their why. Their why is once again, multi-tech, end-to-end processing. The areas where we and our commitment to you all as a group are really going to double down is governance and intelligence, right? We hear this all of the time, right? So what you probably know us for is certain security standards, whether it's SOC 2, HIPAA, DORA, that kind of areas, right? We're already compliant on there. But we see governance being done centrally, right? If you've got 5 automation technologies underneath, you want to be able to manage that stuff centrally as much as possible, whether it's credentials, logs. We have our back, as you can expect, right? But certainly the way we see governance moving forward is that trust layer. And if you're putting agents live, right, you're going to want to know how to control it, how to secure it, how to make sure you can do this safely. Hands up in the room, who's doing any work with agents, right? I don't believe that's it, right? But I know that's like, okay. I would have as a guess, nearly every organization is trying some stuff with agentic-based technology, right? The constant ask we get is, how do I trust it, right? How do I know what's going to happen? I can't even see what's happened. I just see the outcomes after the fact, right? So that security level is a key component of us for moving forward, and our continual investment will be in this area. And lastly, from an intelligence perspective, we actually had our customer advisory board, and this is an area I get overly excited on, so apologies. If we look at what's going on in our collective world, it's reactive reporting, right? It's not intelligence, it's not insight-based at all. And I think the art here is to understand the failures in processes, where are things out of control, what's going to happen, rather than just tell you how many widgets are processed. We are delighted today to announce our digital twin. Home is going to bring that to life in a minute. Eric alluded to that. So that digital twin is a snapshot into what your process is doing today. And the beauty of a digital twin, it's a natural consequence of you putting your throughput through. You already put your workload through from us, right? You get a spotlight of what's happening, what yield is going, what direction, what the SLAs are, where your failure points are. And we will continue to evolve that technology. I think it's got a wow factor I would love to get from you. At the end of the day, we can help you on things like customized dashboards, but really the big announcement for us today will be around that digital twin. So really just to finalize on my part, 'cause we want to bring this to life for you as early as possible. We believe in one platform that unites your automations, your agents, and your automation seamlessly. From an orchestration perspective, you can run your processes end to end without the hassle of working out what's going on at an individual tool level on one single operating layer. From a governance perspective, controlling your automation, securing it, being able to trust. And finally, from an intelligence perspective, proactive insights, turning that operational data into areas of targeted improvement. What can you do better? Where are the weaknesses? Where is the value truly? So that's me for today. I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you all for coming today. Thank you all for your time. Really appreciate it.